Hey everyone, and welcome to another Deep Dive with us. Today we'll be looking at some fascinating ideas for success and happiness and fulfillment, I guess you could say.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. The ideas all come from this book called 7 Mindsets for Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment. It's by Swami Mukundananda.
Okay.
What I think is so interesting is that he's got degrees from these really prestigious places in India.
Okay.
IIT and IIM.
Oh, wow.
But then,
impressive.
Yeah, but then he's also like this world-renowned spiritual teacher.
It's kind of a cool combination, right? You don't always see that, bringing together those two worlds.
Right.
Practical achievement.
Yeah.
But also inner peace.
Exactly. So we're going to try to distill these 7 mindsets from the book for you.
All right.
We'll also be on the lookout for connections we see between them.
Okay.
And we'll make sure to point out the things that you can actually, apply in your own life.
That sounds great.
So the first mindset is positive thinking.
Okay.
And right away, the book talks about how a positive outlook is key. Not just for happiness, but for success in your career too.
Okay.
To illustrate this point, Swami Mukundananda uses the story about King Midas.
Oh, yeah.
The guy.
A golden touch?
Yeah. Everything he touched turned to gold.
Right. Turns out that's not all it's cracked up to be, though.
No.
Because he ends up miserable.
Yeah.
Because he can't even eat, like his food turns to gold.
His family.
Yeah. His loved ones.
It's awful.
Yeah.
The book calls this the trap of 99.
Okay.
Where you're always chasing like one more thing to make you happy instead of being content with what you have.
You think, okay, if I could just get that promotion, then I'll be happy.
Right. Or I just buy that.
That new car.
Yeah.
Then I'll be set.
And then you get there and you're still not happy.
Yeah, the goalposts move.
Totally.
It's a trap we all fall into, I think.
It is.
We all think that way.
Yeah.
If I just have that or achieve this, then I'll finally be content.
Right. And the book highlights that true happiness isn't from chasing more. It's more about appreciating what you have.
Okay.
And shifting your focus.
Yeah.
Away from these external achievements.
So more of an internal sense of peace.
Exactly. And what's so interesting is that there's actually research that supports this whole idea about the placebo effect.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah. And there's this thing called remembered wellness. Right. So it turns out our minds are so powerful that simply believing in something can actually have a real impact on our well-being.
So it's like just thinking positively can actually make you healthier.
It can, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
I know.
The power of the mind.
But let's be real.
Yeah.
Staying positive all the time, it's tough.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Life is going to throw all sorts of things at us. So this brings us to the second mindset.
Okay.
Taking responsibility for our emotions.
Okay.
And this is a big one.
I can see that.
The book uses this really relatable example about like a stressful commute.
Oh, I've had plenty of those.
We've all been there. It's that feeling when everything just seems to go wrong. Like you get a call that makes you late.
Oh, yeah.
And then you hit every red light.
All the bad drivers come out.
And then you end up stuck in traffic.
The worst.
Right. And it's so easy to blame all that stuff for your bad mood.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I'm in a bad mood because of traffic.
Right. It's not my fault.
Right.
It's those other drivers.
But the book argues that when we do that, it keeps us feeling powerless.
I see.
It's like you're saying that this bad day happened to you.
Okay.
And you're just a victim of circumstance.
Yeah, you have no control.
Right.
Yeah.
But instead of feeling like that, like a passive recipient of whatever life throws our way, we can actually recognize that we have a role in how we feel.
Okay.
There's this line in the book that says, devotion is not an adjective, but a verb.
Interesting.
It's about actively creating positive sentiments.
So not just waiting for them to happen.
Exactly.
You have to work for it.
You do.
Makes you think.
It does. And it makes me think of Viktor Frankl.
Okay.
Man's search for meaning.
Oh, yeah.
Even in a concentration camp.
Wow.
He found that he still had the power to choose his internal response.
That's a really powerful example.
It is.
Of how, even in the most difficult situation,
yeah,
you still have a choice.
You do.
And how you react.
Right. You can choose to let these external circumstances dictate your emotional state.
Yeah.
Or you can choose to take ownership of your feelings.
That's really inspiring.
So we've talked about positive thinking.
Right.
And taking responsibility. But responsibility alone doesn't always fuel us to action.
Yeah, you need something more.
Right. And that's where mindset number 3 comes in, inspiration.
Right.
And what I found so interesting about this section is that the book kind of challenges a very common belief.
What's that?
That inspiration is something that you either have or you don't.
Okay.
But the book says that's not true. Instead, it argues that inspiration is situational and that most people are inspired. It's just that they might not be inspired by the things that society expects.
Well, that makes sense.
Right. Like, think about it. How many people do you know that are just dragging themselves through the work week?
I know a lot of those people.
But then they come alive on the weekends when they're doing the things that they truly enjoy.
That's so true.
That's inspiration in action.
But it might not be directed at their job.
Exactly. And that's why the book says it's so crucial to identify what truly motivates you, what lights your fire, because that's where you're going to find the energy to push through challenges.
And achieve your goals.
Right. And the book uses this amazing story about Soichiro Honda.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know,
No.
Honda's journey is incredibly inspiring.
Yeah.
He dropped out of school.
What?
Yeah. He faced all kinds of rejections.
Yeah.
People literally laughed at his ideas.
Wow.
But his passion for automobiles, it just fueled him. And he ended up creating one of the biggest car companies in the world.
That's amazing.
I know. So what's so inspiring about his story is that he didn't give up. He just kept pushing.
Because he was so passionate?
Exactly. He was driven by something so much deeper than just wanting to be rich or successful.
He had a vision.
He did.
Wow.
Okay, so let's move on to a slightly trickier mindset.
Okay.
This is purity of intention.
Right.
And to illustrate this one, the book brings up this really heavy example,
Okay.
the Satyam scam.
The what?
It was one of the biggest corporate frauds in India.
Oh, wow.
We're talking billions of dollars defrauded,
Bro,
all for personal gain.
that's awful.
It is. And what's interesting is that the book uses this example to challenge our definition of success.
In what way?
Well, because you could say that the chairman of Satyam was successful.
I guess in a way.
He had wealth, he had power, all the outward signs of achievement. But the book argues that true success has to involve more than just outward accomplishments. Okay.
It's about being good, doing good,
Okay.
and feeling good.
I like that.
Yeah. And all of those things are interconnected.
Yeah.
And when one of those elements is missing, it throws everything off balance.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And to really drive home this point, Swami Mukundananda uses this thought-provoking analogy
Okay.
of a human hand that's been severed from the body,
Oh, wow.
thinking that it can thrive on its own.
That's kind of a dark image,
It is.
but I see what he's saying.
Yeah, the hand might think it's free, but it can't survive without the body.
Right.
And the book connects this to our souls forgetting their connection to something bigger than ourselves,
Okay.
to God.
I see.
And believe it or not, this ties into the modern day epidemic of stress.
Really? How so?
Well, the book explains that when we lose sight of that connection,
Huh.
it leads to an over-attachment to outcomes. And that's what often causes stress.
Interesting.
We get so fixated on achieving specific results
Yeah.
that we become anxious and tense, even if we succeed.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the book suggests practicing karma yoga,
Okay.
which essentially means dedicating your actions to a higher purpose and detaching from being overly focused on specific outcomes.
So you're not so worried about the results.
Exactly. And this naturally reduces stress.
That's really fascinating. And you know what's interesting is that this whole idea of detaching from outcomes,
Yeah.
it actually aligns with some of the more modern approaches to stress management too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's like ancient wisdom meeting modern science.
Right.
Very cool.
Okay, so I'm sensing a theme here.
Oh yeah, what's that?
It seems like a lot of these mindsets are about shifting our perspective,
Okay,
looking at things from a different angle,
I like that.
which leads us perfectly to mindset number 5,
All right, hit me with it.
cultivating knowledge.
Knowledge is power.
It is. And to kick off this section, the book starts with this pretty funny story about a married couple.
Oh, I love a good story.
This is a good one. So this couple, they've been secretly annoyed for years. Uh-oh. By the husband's uncle who's been living with them.
Oh no.
And each of them thinks that the other spouse is the one who wants the uncle to be there.
Oh my gosh.
They're both assuming the other is happy with the arrangement.
So they're both miserable.
And they suffer in silence.
Wow. That's hilarious, but also kind of sad.
Yeah, it is.
But it illustrates a really important point.
What's that?
We create unnecessary suffering in our lives because we lack knowledge.
Or even the willingness to communicate.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier to just avoid those tough conversations.
It is.
But the book goes on to make a really important distinction
Okay.
between information and knowledge. We live in the information age.
Right.
We're bombarded with data all the time.
Constantly.
But just having access to information isn't enough.
So true.
It's about what we do with that information.
Okay.
It's about transforming that data into something useful and valuable.
Like that story of the German engineer who charges a fortune just to tighten a single screw.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one.
Oh, his value wasn't the act of tightening the screw. It was knowing which screw to tighten to fix the problem.
That's a great example.
Yeah, it highlights how knowledge translates to value.
Right.
And it also points to this shift we're seeing towards a knowledge-based economy.
Yeah.
Where ideas, innovation, and the ability to adapt quickly.
Those are the most valuable assets.
They are.
It makes you think about how important it is to be a lifelong learner.
Right. To constantly be upgrading your knowledge and your skills.
Absolutely.
But even with all the knowledge in the world, we still need the willpower to actually put it into practice.
Oh, for sure.
And that brings us to mindset number 6.
Okay.
Discipline.
Oh, boy, that's a tough one.
It can be, but I love how the book uses this really vivid image of a mama giraffe giving birth.
A giraffe giving birth.
Yeah, so giraffes give birth standing up.
Oh, wow.
So the poor calf drops like 8 feet to the ground.
That's a rough start to life.
I know, but here's the thing.
What?
The mama doesn't coddle the baby.
Oh, she nudges it and almost forces it to stand up.
Oh, wow.
Which seems harsh, right?
Yeah.
But in the wild, there's no time for that.
You got to be able to move.
You got to get on your feet and run fast.
Those lions are hungry.
Right. So it's this powerful lesson about the importance of discipline, even from a young age.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes me think about that famous marshmallow test done at Stanford.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
The kids were given a choice.
Okay.
Eat 1 marshmallow now or wait and get 2 later.
Tough choice.
And guess what?
What?
The kids who could delay gratification,
Okay.
they ended up having much better outcomes in life.
Really?
Decades later.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's a powerful illustration of the long-term benefits of self-control.
Absolutely.
And the book even brings up this technique called Ferberization.
What's that?
It's a sleep training method for babies,
Okay.
where parents basically let their baby cry for a little while before intervening.
So they're learning to self-soothe. Exactly. And the idea is that even infants can benefit from building willpower and learning to regulate their emotions.
It really challenges the idea that willpower is something you're either born with or not.
Yeah.
It sounds more like a muscle you can strengthen.
It is. And there's even neuroscience research that backs that up.
Really?
Yeah, our brains are actually capable of rewiring themselves.
Like how lifting weights build muscle.
Exactly. So even if we weren't Ferberized as babies,
Right.
we can still train ourselves to be more disciplined.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, the book suggests starting small.
Okay.
Don't try to change everything about your life all at once.
Right.
Pick one area where you want to cultivate more discipline.
Okay.
Maybe it's getting up earlier, cutting back on sugar, or sticking to a workout routine.
Okay, one step at a time.
Focus on that one thing and build from there.
Got it.
Okay, I'm feeling empowered now.
Me too.
But we all know life isn't always smooth sailing.
Oh no, definitely not.
Even with the best mindset and rock-solid discipline, life is still going to throw some curveball.
That's for sure.
And that's where the 7th and final mindset comes in.
Okay, bring it on.
Growing in the face of problems.
All right.
This one's all about resilience.
Okay.
Embracing challenges as opportunities for growth. The book starts with this very relatable story about an engineer who's just completely overwhelmed
Oh,
by all these urgent requests.
been there.
Oh, yeah, I've been there too. It's that feeling of just drowning in your to-do list.
Yeah, you just want to shut down and hide.
Totally. But instead of letting that feeling take over, the book encourages us to reframe the situation.
Okay.
Because problems are inevitable.
Yeah, they're part of life.
They are. So it's about shifting our expectations.
So if we expect that there will be challenges,
Yeah.
we're better equipped to handle them when they come up.
Right. It's like the saying, if you're going through hell, keep going.
I like that.
Don't get stuck in the problem.
Yeah, focus on the solution.
Exactly. And I love how the book uses the analogy of hardship being like a sculptor
Oh, yeah.
chiseling away at a block of wood to reveal the beauty within.
Beautiful imagery.
It suggests that challenges, while often difficult or painful, can actually help us to grow.
They can refine us,
Right.
help us reach our full potential.
So let's do a quick recap.
Great.
We've got positive thinking, taking responsibility for our emotions, inspiration, purity of intention, cultivating knowledge, discipline, and growing in the face of problems.
That's a pretty comprehensive toolkit.
It is. And what I think is so amazing is how these mindsets all build on each other.
They do. It's like a journey
Yeah.
that starts with the right attitude, then moves into action,
Right.
and ultimately leads to becoming the best version of yourself.
I think one of the key takeaways here is the power of perspective.
Perspective is everything.
It is whether it's choosing to focus on the positive, owning your emotions, or seeing challenges as opportunities to grow.
Yeah, it's all about changing how we see the world.
And that's one of the most valuable things about this book.
What's that?
It's not just about achieving traditional success. It's about cultivating a mindset that leads to genuine happiness and fulfillment.
Because at the end of the day, that's what we all want, right?
To live a life that feels meaningful and joyful.
No matter what's going on around us.
Exactly.
I love that.
So if you're feeling inspired
Yeah.
to upgrade your mental toolkit, I highly recommend this book.
Oh,
7 Mindsets for Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment.
I'm adding that to my reading list.
It's full of great insights and practical advice.
Cool.
And who knows, it might just change your life.
Or even inspire you to make a positive impact on the world.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this Delp Dive.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Oh yeah, this is a good one. So this couple has been secretly annoyed for years by the husband's uncle,
Oh.
who's been living with them.
Oh no.
And each of them thinks that the other spouse is the one that wants the uncle to stay.
Oh my God.
So they're both like, oh, I can't ask him to leave because my husband or my wife,
They love him.
wants him here. So they're both assuming the other one is happy with the arrangement.
Wow. So they just suffer in silence.
They do. It's pretty funny.
It's funny, but also kind of sad.
Yeah,
But it really illustrates a really important point
it does.
about how we sometimes create unnecessary suffering in our own lives simply because we lack knowledge.
Or even the willingness to just communicate openly.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier to avoid those tough conversations.
Totally.
But the book goes on to make a really important distinction between information and knowledge.
Right.
We live in the information age.
We do.
We're constantly bombarded with data,
All the time.
but just having access to all this information
Yeah.
isn't enough.
What do you do with it?
Exactly. It's about transforming that data into something useful and valuable,
Okay.
turning it into knowledge.
Like that story of the German engineer who charges a fortune just to tighten a single screw.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
So his value wasn't the act of tightening the screw.
Right.
It was knowing which H screw to tighten
To solve the problem.
to fix the entire machine.
That's a great example.
It highlights how knowledge really does translate to value.
And it also points to this shift we're seeing, right? Towards this knowledge-based economy where it's ideas, innovation, and the ability to adapt quickly that are the most valuable assets.
So true. So it makes you think,
Yeah.
how important it is to be a lifelong learner.
Constantly be upgrading your knowledge and skills.
Yeah,
You got to stay ahead of the curve.
you do. But even with all the knowledge in the world,
Right.
we still need the willpower to actually, put it into practice.
Willpower, that's the key.
It is. And that brings us to mindset number 6.
Okay.
Discipline.
Ugh, I know, right?
So hard.
It can be, but I love how the book uses this really vivid image to illustrate this point.
Okay, what is it?
A mama giraffe giving birth.
A giraffe giving birth.
What does that have to do with discipline?
So giraffes give birth standing up,
Oh, wow.
which means that the calf drops like 8 feet to the ground.
It's gotta hurt.
I know, it's a rough start to life.
Poor thing.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
The mama doesn't coddle the baby.
Oh.
She starts nudging it,
Making it get up.
almost forcing it to stand up.
Wow, tough love.
Right. Which seems harsh.
It does.
But when you think about it,
Yeah.
in the wild, there's no time for coddling.
Nope.
That calf needs to be on its feet and running as fast as possible because there are predators out there.
Yeah, those lions are hungry.
Right. So it's this powerful lesson about the importance of discipline,
Even for baby giraffes.
even from a young age.
Wow, I never thought about it that way.
And it reminds me of that famous marshmallow test.
Oh, yeah. The one at Stanford.
Yeah, where they gave kids a choice.
One marshmallow now.
1 marshmallow now or wait and get 2 later.
That's a tough choice.
It is. And guess what? The kids who were able to delay gratification,
Right.
they ended up having much better outcomes in life.
Really? Like how?
Better grades, higher SAT scores,
Wow.
even lower BMIs.
No way.
Decades later.
That's incredible.
It's crazy, right?
It is.
So it's a really powerful illustration of the long-term benefits of self-control.
Absolutely.
And the book even brings up this technique called ferberization.
Ferberization, what's that?
It's this sleep training method for babies
Oh, cool.
where parents will let their baby cry for a little while before going in to soothe them.
So they're learning to self-soothe.
Exactly. And the idea is that even infants can benefit from building willpower
Interesting.
and learning to regulate their emotions.
So it's not just something you're born with or not.
Right. It's more like a muscle that you can strengthen over time.
I like that analogy.
And there's even neuroscience research that backs that up.
Really?
Yeah, our brains are actually capable of rewiring themselves.
Like how lifting weights builds muscle.
Exactly. So even if we weren't ferberized as babies,
Right.
we can still train ourselves to be more disciplined.
Okay, so how do we do that? Where do we even start?
Well, the book suggests starting small.
Small steps.
Yeah, don't try to change everything about your life all at once.
Okay.
Pick one area where you want to cultivate more discipline.
Like what?
Maybe it's getting up earlier, cutting back on sugar,
Oh, that's a tough one.
sticking to a workout routine.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, just focus on that one thing
Okay.
and build from there.
Got it, one step at a time.
Okay, I'm feeling empowered now.
Me too. But,
Yeah.
life isn't always smooth sailing.
It's not even with the best mindset and, rock solid discipline.
Yeah.
Life is still going to throw us curveballs.
That's for sure.
And that's where the seventh and final mindset comes in.
Okay, what is it?
This one is called growing in the face of problems.
Growing in the face of problems. I like that.
It's all about resilience,
That's right.
Embracing challenges as opportunities for growth.
Instead of letting them get you down.
Exactly. And the book starts with this very relatable story
Oh, I love a good story.
about an engineer who's just completely overwhelmed
Uh-oh.
by this flood of urgent requests.
Been there?
Oh, yeah, me too. It's that feeling of just drowning in your to-do list
You just want to shut down.
and hide from the world.
Yeah.
But instead of letting that feeling of overwhelm take over,
Right.
the book encourages us to reframe the situation.
Okay.
Because problems are inevitable, right?
Oh, they are.
You can't avoid them completely.
So true.
So it's more about shifting our expectations.
Okay, so if we go into things expecting that there will be challenges,
Yeah,
then we're better prepared to handle them when they come up.
exactly. It's like that saying,
What's that?
if you're going through hell, keep going.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
Don't get stuck in the problem.
Focus on the solution.
And I love how the book uses this analogy
Okay.
of hardship being like a sculptor
Oh, yeah.
chiseling away at a block of wood to reveal the beauty within.
That's a great analogy.
Right. It suggests that these challenges, while often difficult or painful,
Yeah.
can actually help us to grow,
Like refine us.
help us to shed those rough edges,
Yeah.
and ultimately reveal our true potential.
So it's like those challenges are actually helping us become our best selves.
They are. So as we were talking about these mindsets, it made me think about something.
Oh, yeah, what's that?
Well, all of these principles that we've been discussing, like positive thinking, taking responsibility, acting with pure intentions,
Yeah,
they're all focused on individual growth, right?
that's true.
But I was thinking, what if we applied these same ideas
Okay.
to the challenges we face as a society?
That's interesting.
Because when you think about it,
Yeah.
some of the biggest problems that we're dealing with,
Like what?
poverty, inequality, climate change,
Okay.
they seem to stem from, these flawed collective mindsets.
Like greed and a lack of compassion.
Right. Short-sightedness, all of that.
Makes you wonder.
It does.
If we could shift our collective mindset,
Yeah.
could we actually create a better world?
I think so. But even on an individual level, mastering even one of these mindsets,
Yeah,
it takes real effort
it does.
and consistent practice.
It's a journey.
It is not a destination.
I like that.
And what I appreciate about this book is that it doesn't just, present these lofty ideas.
Right.
It actually provides practical tools.
Let's put them into practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it draws on both ancient wisdom and modern science.
Yeah, it's a really interesting blend.
Vedic philosophy, psychology research, even some neuroscience.
That makes it really accessible, I think.
It does for anyone, regardless of their background or belief.
There's something in there for everyone.
And I think that's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
So if you're ready to explore these ideas
Uh-huh.
and upgrade your mental toolkit,
Okay.
we highly recommend checking out this book.
I'm going to have to pick up a copy.
7 Mindsets for Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment.
It might just change your life.
it might, or at least inspire you to make a positive impact on the world around you.
Absolutely.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep those mindsets positive.